Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and you've seen from the title of this video and the thumbnail, very clickbaity probably, but the gun that has so many problems or has so many issues, especially from launch, the gun that was so bad, I bought another one. So here is my MDR. You'll have seen it in all my MDR videos. If you haven't, be sure to check out that playlist. You can find it on the channel. Tons of videos on the platform. We sorted the gearbox out. I always had an issue with the lower being wobbly. We've tried a few things to sort that out. But this is predominantly how it was built. In the standard setup with a short dot optic and a CGS suppressor, which you can't see because it's covered up with this lovely all-Fednar suppressor cover. This being a real suppressor cover, not that it's ever going to get that hot, but I just thought they just make them look so cool with the suppressor covers when real manufacturers make them, compared to the crap that we have offered that's made in China. But here is my MDR. And to prove it to you that I've bought another MDR, I thought, well, I've got to have this in the shop to begin with, to then bring this in and show you that I've got two. So just noticing now that the colours are actually a little bit different. So the anodizing on the upper is slightly different. I don't think this is one. No, it's definitely not one that I Cerakoted, but here is another MDR, and you're probably thinking, why on earth, if you've had all these problems with the MDR, have you gone and bought another one in the exact same specification, the exact same colour as your original MDR? And there's a good question about that. So this MDR, I think it was originally bought through Longbow. The guy that owned this had the gearbox serviced by me. He's had a couple of issues with it, and I think it's just been one thing after another, and he's yet to get a game out of it. So he was pulling his hair out with it. I was obviously waiting on, and I'm still waiting on, for a replacement casing, because the threads weren't, I don't think the threads were quite machined properly, and they've stripped out. So I'm waiting on a new casing for this. Doesn't affect the way the gun performs, because it's all held together very well. It's just, a bit of a formality, but it was going on for months. I had the gun here with me. I was going to make it, as good as it could possibly be, fix all the issues, get it back to him, get him a gun where he could skirmish it. However, it didn't quite go that way. We're still waiting on the casing. He was getting to, his boiling point, which rightly so. As a consumer, you probably would get very frustrated if you spent all this money, you've had it upgraded, and you still can't use it because you're waiting on a part, or he has had a lot of feeding issues, so that's something we're going to have to address. I think it's to do with the piston. I think it's slightly out of spec, so I think the QC is slightly off. Shock horror with the silverback. But it was going back and forwards between me and him, and he said, look, I just need the gun to work. And I said, well, how about, he's very frustrated with it, how about I buy you out of your investment? So he's obviously invested money in this. He's got accessories like mags and whatever. He's had the gearbox service. I said, we'll come up to a sum. So we came up to and agreed on a price, and I bought this MDR from him. He can wash his hands with it. Don't DM me. This is not something that I do all the time. But I thought, number one, if I need spares from this rifle for mine, I can use them. Number two, if I don't use it, I can split it down for parts and sell it through the website, which I did make it very clear with him that might be something that I do. Do something crazy with it maybe, or we just use it to create content. So I purchased his MDR with a load of bits. I've got an absolute shed ton of mags now, including, I think, a PTS one, which is the EPM LR. Never used these before, but it seems to go in there quite well. It seats, and we'll have to be giving that a go. And then I was talking to a guy on the Silverback MDR Facebook page, and that's why you'll probably have seen this contraption. He has files for a chassis. Obviously this one's a bit rough. It's been quick printed. I think it's for a Polarstar F2 engine. I don't have an F2 engine. The F2 engines cost more than probably what this rifle does. So I was going to see if there was a way I could adapt these files to accept the jack. Might be something we do down in future and HPA it, or we could just keep it electric. And what I think I'm going to do now is my original MDR, which is 2204. I think I'm going to set this one up as a DMR, so it's going to be semi-auto, lock to semi, higher FPS, whatever the dual limit is for the sight. We can change that on the fly. Very good. And we use it as a designated marksman rifle. I think that is what I'm going to be doing with my original MDR in the setup you see there. This one we're going to be doing something crazy with. So this is going to be the battle rifle, or, you know, short barrel rifle, whatever you want to call it. He actually does have a loose lower, much like mine. So yeah, we will build something crazy with it. So there are parts that I'm probably going to strip off this, and that's where we are. So I bought another MDR. So now I've got two useless rifles. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll see where this goes. And this leads me to my next part. So many of you might have seen on the channel that I was working on a handguard, which was the Nano Handguard, which very much looked like the original handguard, but it was much smaller. Actually did have some. I actually have it here. Actually, this was the first one, I think, before I started modifying it. Now it's loosely based on the files for the real MDR. Don't ask me how I got those. Might not be the original files that Desert Tech have, but someone out there perfectly recreated it, and that's what I used. This was actually the first test one, which you'll see has test written there. There was a bit of catching. This actually went away and I produced a few more. Managed to get the file down, so I had one fitted. This was made in MJF, like multi-jet fusion. And then there was another guy in the MDR Facebook group who is a very talented individual. I can't remember his name right now just because I'm not in front of my computer and it's been a long day. But this guy is very skilled with CAD. And I wanted a Micron handguard for this. I've been trying to get one, find someone who can get me one from the States and get it shipped over. No bueno, can't find anyone to help me do that. But this guy has created something very similar. And he actually sells these files. So I went over to his store. I think, I can't remember if it was on Cults or something like that. I'll link it all down in the description below. I'll link the Facebook group and I'll link his page. Hope he doesn't mind. And you can buy the files. So I went on there, I bought the file, and I sent it off to a company because I don't want to print this in, obviously, the resin that you see here. You could very much print it in a way that comes out very smooth, and I have done, which you'll see here for the first Nano. It's not bad at all, but the material does have its downsides. So I sent it over to my preferred manufacturing company and had one made in MJF. Now this means all the thick parts are very strong. The file is a little bit thin on these parts here, so you know, even though it's made out of a very strong material, there is flex. So we wouldn't be putting anything here that has to be zeroed. So this is obviously the direction I'm going to go in. Now I'm going to see if this fits. There are dimensionally, with the way this fits around the trigger, I'll have a quick fit test. It's very spot on. However, there are a couple of key things in this which I do feel the original creator did miss. You know, here, where I had modelled the slider where it goes into the receiver, where I had modelled this, it's all done off the real one, so and adapted to fit the Airsoft version. On this one, there's just a gap there, and I'm not really too sure why. Also, I think these holes for the securing clamps are too wide for the screws, and then thirdly, the hole for the body pin does need drilling out. I don't know if that's something that he does just so you have to drill it out to get it, you know, nice and precise, but the body pin won't go through this hole. So I just quickly ran and grabbed my Torx drivers because they were downstairs. So let's take this handguard off. But first, let's get the original MDR out of the way and declutter bench a little bit. So we're going to pop that screw loose, and this one, and we're going to punch this front pin out, and that's just come out without the clip because the clip's still in the handguard. More silverback QC for you there. We could slide, well, we don't even have to slide it, we can just come up from the bottom, but look how well that fits. Now, the chap that, I can't remember his name, sorry, I do apologise, that's modelled this has done a superb job. But you'll see that the hole for mounting the body pin, it doesn't match up, and it's also slightly the wrong size, because if we take this off, the pin don't go through, so we're going to have to fix that. I don't know whether I'm going to have to fix it in the file, whether I'm going to have to drill it out. I don't really want to purchasing the file, sending this off to be manufactured. This was not cheap. My God, it was expensive, but I wanted it done in a nice solid material. Now, it's not going to be a pain to get this to fit. Obviously, we'll just drill it slightly this way, and we can pop the pin in then. There's actually a space which you'd think would be for the retaining pin, but then there's a block in there. So I'm not sure whether it's a fault of the manufacturing process or it's a fault of the file. So we'll have to figure that one out. So we might have to file that out. And the clamps, now they do work, but like I said, they're just slightly different to the standard silverback MDR handguard. So we're going to drop these little T-nut out, and you'll see the hole here for the screw is much narrower than this one. Now, it will work, but why someone that's so talented, why they would go to such lengths in getting everything so perfectly right and then missing something which to me is very straightforward. And the only reason why, when working on the Nano Handguard, I didn't sort of progress down the Micron handguard route was literally because it was out of my sort of expertise in my CAD design. Now, since then, I have self-taught quite a fair bit in CAD, to the point now where a lot of the parts that I produce and sell up on the website, I'm getting to the point now where I'm designing them on the computer, printing off a prototype, and it is like bob on straight away. So still a bit far away from this. I mean, I could do a course. Who knows? We might do that in the future. So we put the clamp on. We'll put the handguard on. And we can actually tighten it down with these two screws. So it will work. The other only real criticisms that I have with this handguard setup, I mean, look how cool that is. We would obviously chop the barrel down. I'm going to measure up, see where it needs, mark it up, and I'm going to reduce the barrel so it sits just in front of this handguard here. And then we're going to fit like a nice chunky like 762 suppressor on there. Although it is, I wouldn't be using this to mount any type of accessories. It's not insanely it's not uncomfortable, but it's not insanely comfortable. I think you've got this real flat edge here, where, as you see with and why the MDR handguard is so comfortable, you've got this nice curve and it fits perfectly in your hand. The same with the Nano. I really did like the Nano because it was just a perfect fit for my hand. Yes, you've still got a slight flat edge here, but it's mostly rounded. So it does fit really nicely. This one, however, does have quite a wide flat edge and not as sort of filleted sort of a profile. It's not the end of the world. I might have to speak with him and see if we can make some adjustments. I know he was open to suggestions, so maybe we can make some adjustments and do like a newer version. I would like to get that a bit more comfortable, perhaps put a bit more material in the thin section so it adds some rigidity. So if we want to put tack lights, you know, small lasers, anything like that, not that you would, it's a very small handguard, that we have the ability to do so. We do have the rails up top, so we could use that, you know, red dot, pet box, job done. But let me know what you guys think of the direction we're going in for this thing. This is obviously going to be semi and full auto. Do we keep it electric and run it as it is, see how far we get on? Or do we go balls to the wall? And the other very talented person in the Facebook group who produced this, do we go with this, perhaps adapt it for a Polar Star jack because I just have a Polar Star jack lying around, or invest another £500 and get an F2 engine? Unless Polar Star, you're chiming into this, do we want a discount, please? And go balls to the wall and HPA it and have it in, you know, a nice big suppressor on there, make it really quiet and just make it an aggressive assaulters build. But we're almost there to my dream MDR with his handguard. I really do congratulate him on doing such a great job. Just needs a bit of tweaking to be perfect for me. So we'll see if we can get there. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. Hope you like another MDR video coming up on the channel. If you don't, or you do, let me know down in the comments below. If you've got any ideas for this second MDR build, let me know. Of course, I think we're going to change the colour, which is why I got the MJF in just the standard grey, because we're probably going to coat it and give it a wacky paint job. But let me know in the comments what you think we should do with this thing. Have you got any crazy ideas than I have? It does look stupid with that barrel, I think, once we get that chopped down. We might be able to get around the flexibility of the thing with maybe like a brace. It would be nice to have something that sort of folds over. Maybe that carries on with the rail, maybe. So sort of combine the Nano. Oh, if we could combine the Nano with the Micron. And oh, could you imagine that? So you've got the Micron handguard, but we have this, maybe take the front off, but just fit the rail at the top there. I think that could look really cool. So thanks for this video. As always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in the next one.